Having a cage for a cinema camera is an absolute necessity. It's rare that these things come ready to use out of the box. More likely than not, you're going to want to add accessories to make it work better and in different ways for you. Monitors, how to mount it to various things is a lot easier with one of these. This is the TILTA Cage for the Blackmagic Pocket 6K Pro that I just got. I thought it was a good opportunity to talk about the cage and compare it to alternatives. I won't spend much time talking about what camera cages are, but for anyone who grew up playing with Legos, making these work feels really familiar. This particular cage has a couple features worth talking through. It can be separated out into a half cage, so if you need to get a little more lightweight of a setup, or you don't want to block side of the camera, you can use that half cage and not have to take off the whole thing. It has a NATO rail, it has a rosette mount, and it has plenty of 1/4-20 screws to attach any other accessories you might want to add to your 6K Pro setup. Its best feature, I kid you not, is the bottom plate of the cage. See, I use the 6K Pro often with the Ronin RS2, and using a gimbal used to require a tripod plate be attached to whatever your camera or cage setup already was, and balancing got kind of awkward. The Ronin RS2 uses a Arca Swiss style mounting plate, meaning the bottom of this cage just slides in, doesn't need any other tripod mounting accessories. So you can easily take this on and off of your gimbal or put it right onto a tripod if you have a compatible plate already on that. I've already gone ahead and converted all my plates to be adaptable to this style of Arca Swiss, and I have a lot less stress when moving the camera from one setup to another. This cage is really light and comparable in price to the Smallrig cage. They both come in around $100, but the Smallrig cage doesn't have the same bottom plate that the TILTA Cage does. So when using with a gimbal, you have to attach this to a different Smallrig base plate that will work for the Arca Swiss type. I guess the advantage of this one would be the Samsung SSD holder, but I'm not someone that uses that. I stick to CFast cards. So for me, that's actually wasted space, and I prefer using the TILTA Cage. Build quality wise, I can't say one is that much better than the other. I do like this blacked out with red accent look over this wooden part the Smallrig has. It just doesn't style wise fit with anything else on the Blackmagic camera, whereas this blends right in. Another small difference that doesn't matter to me, but I can see it mattering to some consumers, is that the TILTA stuff comes in just a little bit better of branding. It actually comes in a box, whereas pretty much everything I've got from Smallrig comes in a plastic bag in a plain brown box. But if you get a product from TILTA, they're going to include an instruction manual on how to build your cage and this tiny diagram for all the little places where you might tighten the screws. Doesn't really matter to me, but this is clearly an effort to make it feel worth the money. I will say, sometimes when I get $200 worth of rigging equipment in a plain plastic bag, I don't exactly feel inspired that the money was worth it. I'm most excited to use this cage with other TILTA accessories. The EVF that's on the Blackmagic Pocket 6K Pro is placed right here, which can be kind of awkward. You can only use it in this scenario. But TILTA is coming out with an EVF extension, which will probably mount off this rosette and be able to put into a more standard shoulder rig type setup. That way the EVF can be positioned from here to here, and it'll actually be a lot more comfortable for a shoulder rig use. The idea of just being able to pop off, put that back, move it around with the cage seems like an ecosystem type thing, and I'm always a fan of stuff that works all together, not just for one individual purpose. If those accessories, among others, are something that interests you, now's a good time for me to ask you to politely subscribe to the channel, like the video, and click the silly dinner bell button, because all those things help this channel grow and help support me do more of these videos. They also make sure you don't miss a video as well. Build quality of both cages is about the same, but we got to call out small faults when we see them. That this is the Blackmagic Pocket 6K Pro case. I'm not someone who only holds the camera one way or who only shoots in one way. I want a cage that's going to let me move handles around quickly, go from top to side, move where my follow focus is, and the cage does enable me to do that. I'm going to stick with this TILTA Cage for all the reasons I've gushed over in this video already. It is relatively affordable. It's odd to see that for cameras that are a little cheaper, the cages are a little cheaper. Similar accessories for cameras like the Red Komodo are a little bit more expensive, but theoretically, they cost no more to make. Maybe they cost more to design, or maybe they're just aware that those consumers probably have a little bit more money to spend when building out their rigs. Hope you found this to be an honest look at the cage. I'll definitely do a follow-up video when the EVF extension and accessories come in from TILTA, because that's something I think a lot of Blackmagic 6K Pro users are very interested to see how it'll actually work. Until then, until next video, I'm off walking.